Alrighty, good evening, everyone. I want to thank you for joining us here for the Country Club at Champions Gate Golf Town Hall. I would like to go over a few items before we get started tonight. Since all board members are present this evening, we have an official quorum. This meeting was publicly noticed in accordance with Florida Statute 720 as a Board of Directors meeting. As with all board meetings, the Board of Directors will have the opportunity to discuss each section after it is presented. Following board discussion, there will be a period for homeowner comments. If you wish to speak, please raise your virtual hand in the Zoom call. When it is your turn, you will be able to unmute and share your comments. Please introduce yourself before speaking. We kindly ask that you speak only on the topic or section that is being discussed at that time. Each owner will have up to 3 minutes to speak. Each section that is open for homeowner comments will be limited to approximately 15 to 20 minutes. The chat function will be open this evening, and all participants will be able to see each other's comments. If you would like your comment addressed during the meeting, please join the speaking queue by raising your virtual hand. All chat comments will be noted for the record, but not all will necessarily be addressed during the meeting. As always, we ask that comments remain on topic and remain respectful. Anyone who is disrespectful or disruptive during the meeting may be removed from the Zoom call. With that, let's have a productive meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. It is 6:03 on August 11th, and we're going to call the meeting to order at this point. Stephanie, can we have certification of quorum and proof of notice, please?
Yes, we have all 5 board members present, so quorum is met, and I do certify the public notice of this meeting was posted at least 48 hours in advance in accordance with Florida Statute 720.
Thank you, Stephanie. So before we begin, I'd like to start by saying thank you to each and every one of you for your interest in this topic and for our community. There will be a lot of information presented this evening, and I ask that we all listen very carefully and digest the importance of what is said. Then take a deep breath and think of your fellow neighbors and how he or she will be impacted by any suggestions you may present. It should be noted that no decisions, no motions, nor any votes will be performed here this evening, as this is the start of our journey and by no means the end of it. A number of you will want to raise your virtual hand and speak this evening, and we encourage that, but we will likely not have enough time to get to everyone. However, we encourage anyone who wishes to share their thoughts to email the board. Stephanie will provide more details in an e-blast in the coming days on how to submit those suggestions. Let's not forget, we are all homeowners in this community, and we need to put our collective minds together, resisting the temptation to satisfy our individual needs and wants, and produce positive steps and changes in the near future that will enhance the experience for all 937 homes within the Country Club. We are not adversaries, but instead we are all on the same team. Let's not lose sight of that. But working together in a collaborative manner, we can share ideas and information to move Champions Gate forward in a fiscally responsible way, which preserves our home values while enhancing our overall member experience. So after all of that, the next item on the agenda is the Golf Town Hall. Alan, please.
Thanks, James. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let me know if everybody sees that. Just give me a thumbs up. Neil, James, Lisa. Okay, perfect. All right, so let me just go to start the slideshow. All right, so, and I'll try to pause to make sure that the slides refresh. As James noted, a fair amount of information to cover, and obviously want to have the discussion and the community feedback. But basically, we're just going to go through the various topics, sort of introduction, background, goals, some analytics, and then talk about the levers. And again, probably the first like 8-10 slides or so. I'll present, we'll talk amongst the board, and then we'll open it up. And then each of the levers will have kind of a one-off where we'll talk amongst the board, and then we'll open it up for public commentary. All right, so again, some of this is covered between James or Stephanie, but today's objectives provide information analytics and some discussion for possible modifications to current approaches. And again, I think this is over a spectrum. This is not going to be necessarily a bing bang, at least from my perspective. I don't want to speak for other board members, but it's kind of like, what is the strategic view for 1 to 3 to 5 years? Obviously, get community feedback. We know from past meetings on topics, whether it be golf, plaza, etc. There's going to be many opposing viewpoints, and there's really no perfect approach that's going to make everybody 100% happy. And again, ultimately, any changes, whether for this coming year or later years, just need to be phased in thoughtfully. No real kind of like big bang and throw everything against the wall and have too many variables in play. We kind of covered today's approach, but presentation of the slides, commentary at the end of that. Hopefully we maintain the decorum with a friendly open exchange of ideas. Again, we'll try to limit the discussion where we can because we don't want to be here until midnight. The email thing, I think enough on that. So then the discussion principles. Again, everything that we do, and I think every board since turnover is done, is try to think about where's the right balance, striking the right balance, and kind of in 3 broad principles: financial, fairness, experience. So again, from the financial perspective, I think we've heard over and over, people prefer lower HOA fees or low HOA fees or low increases. We get a lot of pushback when those go up substantially. We've been very fortunate, with the exception of the original turnover sort of special assessment, just to get some funding before the original board was in place. But we've not had any need for any special assessments. And again, that's not a good thing because people don't have that budgeted. And it's not good for the HOA if you have special assessments, et cetera. And then obviously decisions that maintain the home values. Fairness, again, that's another one of the, the little legs here in the stool. And that could be tea time availability, booking process, with the overall, subsidy, or where we allocate HOA money to other amenities, et cetera. And then experience, again, tea time availability, pace of play, golf course condition, culture, et cetera. And Jay's mentioned this, but everyone should think about, the broader community and not their own personal perspective or, bias they might come to the table with. So I'll just pause there for 1 second, just ask any of the board members if they have any commentary.
No, nothing from me.
We'll go
Echo.
I'm good.
All right, and then some of these goals are similar to what's been disclosed in prior boards, kind of maintain increased home values and community engagement. And one of the ways to do that is to obviously reduce or keep the increases to the country club assessments low. And we all, hopefully everybody on this call, but I know a lot of people don't fully understand all the inner workings of the community. But again, strategically, in 1 to 5 years, we got to know what's coming down the pipeline, whether it's the Oasis Club purchase or sale. Things like that are going to have an impact on the total HOA fees, not just the country club fees themselves. But with specific to golf, how could we get there, or how could we help the HOA assessments remain low or go lower? We've seen some of that in the last year or so with increased public play revenue, both from a rate perspective and a volume perspective. And some of the times or the days available, we made the Public Thursday, which has been a significant boost to the revenue. And then, increased member rate play revenue, possibly either a rate change or some change to the current model. Obviously, new revenue sources. One of the levers, it's actually the example, but we've talked about it, I think, before, do we monetize the driving range for public, possibly? And then obviously we continue to look at the expense base and what can we do to decrease that. And then as far as the community engagement, just ensuring fairness and utilization and access across all the various amenities. So again, I'll pause, and are there any commentary? I'm seeing no.
Nope.
Okay. So then into some of the analytics or the data slides, and there's probably about half a dozen of these. So this slide, I think we first introduced last budget town hall. For real estate on the screen, I got rid of the top section, or I hid the top section, but basically, if you remember, it was, 6 tee times per hour, so 24 tee times, and then you had a number of days, so in January 31, February 28, etc. So that kind of gives you the theoretical capacity. So you can see in, January, we were just around 81%, February 97 and 97.5, March 103. You might ask how we can go over 100%. Again, if you look down below, we stop it at, what we think is the last time. I think it was 2 o'clock for January, February, maybe 2:30 for March. But we stop that when we think a foursome can't make it through without it getting dark. So an 18-hole foursome. But anybody who's playing 9 holes, etc. So that's in theory where the theoretical capacity, is could be slightly larger than we have there. But again, that's about an 11% increase over the prior year. When you look at the 2025 rounds of, year to date, 25,600 versus the 2024 rounds of 23,073. And again, that's the highest it's been since we've been sort of tracking this. We had the ability to track that. Pause there. Any questions or commentary from board? Okay.
Nope.
All right, so then this is a fair amount of numbers here to digest. I will try to go through the the top section, and I know even going back to last board meeting when John McTighe presented some of the golf numbers, sometimes we talk to budget, sometimes we talk year on year. So I'll try to be, if the headings aren't clear enough when I'm talking about budget, I'll try to be clear that I'm talking about budget. When I'm talking about actuals year over year, I'll point to that. So the top part is really just sort of like, where is our year to date picture in golf, and then we split it out, or I split it out between sort of public golfing, public merch, member golfing, member merch. And again, at budget time, we did a 60-40 split on the member merch. So again, you could have some seasonality factors in some of these numbers. So by end of year, we'll have a much better analytics on that. But some good news story, public golfing is up again. Our Thursday public day has been pretty good on that. Our merch is up, which is nice to see. And again, I think that's a lot of times the public coming in to buy golf balls, gloves. Obviously, rental clubs has been a big boon for us as well. So overall, from 2025 actual year to date in June of the 2.1, that compares to a budget of $1,853,000. So a positive story, up 249,000 on the top line. Then if you go down to the next chart there, this is basically digesting the public golfing and the member golfing a little bit more, both the sort of the rate perspective. So the public golfing revenue and the rounds, and we also break out member guests because they're in the public number, but there's a different price point for member guests. And then it just say, looking at the rounds that the public played, the members played, et cetera, and calculating a year-to-date average per round. And later on, I'll backtrack a little bit to budget. And if you remember, I think we needed an average rate of like 56.12 or 56.25 to sort of meet our budget. And then down below is just how those rounds that are in that second chart sort of split out. Again, it shows the revenue, public rounds, member rounds, golf rounds, and the average rate. And again, it's good this is where it's 2025 versus 2024. So we've actually driven up the average rate from 58.51 to 64.91. So that's a nice little pickup as well. So we've moved the rate, we've moved the volume, so we're getting a little bit benefit on both sides. So I'm just going to pause there and ask the board as well if they had any questions.
No.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, no, John.
Alan, can you tell us where the trail fees are located on here?
So that's in the member golf numbers.
So that's 291,000?
Well, so that's all member. So that's trail fees. It's the new non-trail fee NTF of 26 plus the cart fees of 31. And again, there could be twilight card fees and other little nuances or 9 holes, but yes, that's in that number.
Okay,
Remember, we budgeted, I think, 300,000 for trail fees, and we fell short of selling that. I want to say our full year for trail fees is like 275, 280, in that ballpark.
Okay. One other question, in regards to the credits that are issued to the members and so forth, how are they shown on the financials? I mean, is there anything listed here that shows what those credits are and where that increase?
So what credits are you referring to?
You have an event.
Prizes.
And it's prizes. You have an event, you win the event, you get a shop credit. So that goes towards merchandise eventually. So how is that actually noted on the financials?
So that sits in a liability account until it's used. So it is part of, oh, it's not gift cards. What's the terminology? Credit book. Yep, it's a credit book. So basically it goes to a liability until it's used, and then it comes through the revenue, the merch revenue, right? So you get the merch revenue, and whatever they buy goes through cost of sales.
So that'll be located on our balance sheet?
So yes, the credit book is on the balance sheet until it's used, right? So again, if someone wins that day and goes in and spends it in the pro shop, that would show up in member merch.
Okay.
And I want to say ballpark, I think there's 7,000 in credit books sitting on the balance sheet, just somewhere in that. I could be off by a couple thousand, but I think that's roughly where it is. But
So
remember, there's
have
credit
any of
books.
the,
There's like 3 or 4 different. There's a men's league credit book, a women's league credit book. Then there's an individual credit book by name. So there's a couple of different, or a few different credit books. But yeah, they sit on the balance sheet until someone presents for it to be used.
and so any credit book that was used so far the first 6 months of 2025, the spend is in member merch, is that correct?
Yes.
So then the stuff that's sitting on the balance sheet, some of that actually will expire December 31st of this year. And then whatever's accumulated in 25 has to be spent by December 31 of 2026, correct?
Yes, based on the policy from 2 years ago, year and a half ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I think if you earn it in the last month of the year, that's the one that carries over to the following. It's anything that leads up to, I think, November 30th, that expires at the end of the year.
Well, okay, you're one policy behind. We the five of
okay.
us changed that policy. So
Okay.
any credit book that is earned
In
in
the year?
2025
Goes
expires
to 26,
December
okay.
31, 2026.
Yep. Got it.
There you go.
So for the credit that expires December 31st, it doesn't really just go away. It gets noted as income at the end of the year because it's not been spent. Correct?
Correct, yes. But hopefully people would spend it and not let it expire.
I agree 100%.
All right, and just, any other questions on the previous slide? Nope. Okay. So then just you putting the grill up there as well, because I can't really have the course without the grill without the course, or there's an expectation that if you come to a golf course, there'll be a grill, etc. And John would have presented some of these in the Thursday meeting, but again, this is year-to-date actual versus budget, not prior year. So again, our revenue, again, we split it out across the two, public versus member. And again, going in, I think the budget was under assumption of like a 60-40 split member, and we've seen it the other way around. And again, I think that's probably a bit because the public spend is up due to the increase in volume of public players. And again, is that perfect? Probably not, because I think some of the stuff might be less seasonal or should have been more seasonal. But again, by the time we get to the end of the year, that'll be a good analytic to know. But is it really off 36%? It might be off 30%, or it could be off 40%. But overall, the revenue is close to budget for the golf grill. So again, a decent story. And I think we were somewhat aggressive on the budget for golf grill overall, because we expected some uptick in public play to help drive revenue there. Any questions on that one? Okay. All right, so now, and I said we're going to go back to budget for just a second. This is the slide that sort of does that. Again, a version of this was in the budget town hall back in October of last year. But just to orient you, if you sort of look to the left, top budget expense amount, so our course maintenance of almost 1.9 and our pro shop expenses, that is the operating cost of our golf facility, excluding grill, 3.4 million. So that's what we look to cover by three sources of revenue, one being public, one being member play, and one being our owner subsidy for any net loss. So for budget for 2028, you can see we had the 3.4 million of expenses. We budgeted revenue from the member and the public coming in at 2.5, split between swing revenue and merch revenue. So that left a quote net loss or a subsidy of the 880,000. And again, as you go across, we budgeted about 41,000 rounds. Again, look at our course capacity. So basically, what do we need from each of those? Like overall, we needed an average of 83.76 to sort of cover our expenses. Merch is a very small percentage of that, $6.18. The golfing revenue, that's the 56.12 I referred to earlier. And the subsidy equates to about 21.46. But as you'll see over to the right, we don't really subsidize public rounds per se. So I just put that in the member bucket for now. So then if you carry it across, what do we expect from the public? The millions, almost 1.8 million. Members was the 530. And again, that's across trail fees, NTFs, CRTs. That's it. And again, the split between the public and the member for the merch. And then you get to, again, that 880 or, the amount that's, funded by the broader HOA. So then if you follow the arrow to the left, and this is kind of the three-legged stool of the three revenue sources I previously mentioned, but that's how it splits out. Roughly 56% from public, 28% from subsidy, and 70% from member play. And then the other thing, just to remind, because we ran into this, and one of the reasons we raised the pass holder a couple of years back was there's the owner subsidy, or there's the golf aspect, but then there's two other elements of it, right? There's the golf reserves. So we've taken roughly $500,000 in reserves for all of our community assets. And as we know, we just spent 350 plus on the pumps for the golf course. But almost half, I think it's like 48, 49% go to golf reserves. So again, part of our monthly assessment goes into funding reserves, half of which is tied to golf reserves. And then again, since I'm not sure the grill could exist easily without the golf course and vice versa, I put that into this pie as well. So that's about 76,000. That's in the budgeted, subsidy or net loss related to the golf grill. So all in, for the 937 homes, we all pay, $1,284 a year, sort of related to golf. So I'll just pause there again. All right, I see no unmutes. Okay. For some reason, it's not advancing. Let me try. Oh, there we go. Okay, and then just to round out the other amenities / subsidies that we all sort of contribute to or pay into. Again, there's the other part of the non-golf related reserves. This would be plaza, pickleball courts, roads, sidewalks, anything else that is a non sort of golf asset. And again, that's the 259,000. So that's a little over 50% of our reserves. All the other amenities, so the north pool, the plaza pools, the gyms, both the inside gym of the plaza and also the outdoor gym at the north pool, plus the courts, pickleball court, bocce court, putting green by the pickleball courts. That's 402,000 or $36 as part of the monthly fee. And then the restaurant, that's the subsidy for the plaza of $26.33. And then up off to the side, because it is its own little animal on itself, because it's not an assessment, it's not a subsidy per se, it's a credit to use to food. So that's $843, that's the $75 per month for the 937 homes. So again, that just shows a data point on the other amenities or costs that we pay into the HOA. So again, I'll pause there. Okay. All right, so this is actually a new slide. I just threw this in this afternoon. The question came up about, net income versus just revenue and stuff. So I just put this one together. So all this is doing is, again, year to date, there's the budget. So for the first 6 months, we're expecting revenue of $1,000,004, pro shop expenses of $767, maintenance expenses of $939. So we were budgeting or forecasting a loss of $293 for the first 6 months of the year. Good news is we had different experience from the actuals, right? Our revenue is up, as we saw from prior slides. The pro shop expenses are down slightly. I think it's 85,000 or something in that ballpark. And the maintenance expenses are almost spot on, negative by like 3,200 or something. So we were expecting a loss of 293. We actually generated income of 38, say. So that's a variance of 331,000. So again, that's a lot driven by the increase in public revenue. The rest of the year budget, we are also projecting a loss of 586. Again, we're expecting revenue. And again, remember, this would cover July, August, September through the rest of the year. So the slower part of our season, and then a little bit of what picks up before it gets to peak season. So we're expecting, pro shop expenses of close to 800, and other, Ethan's is somewhat straight line. So 929 of expenses for maintenance. So we're expecting sort of a loss for the rest of the year of 586. So when you add the first part of the year that we expected and the second part of the year, that's where you get back to the 880, right? So that was the loss or the subsidy. Now, if that 331 holds for the full year, right? If we don't erode that, and personally, I think some of that will erode. How much? Don't know. Again, we might do good on, slightly good on revenue, and maybe expenses will stay where they are. But if, in this example, if the 331 doesn't get eroded and we hit our revenue targets and our expense targets, we'll end the year at a sort of a loss of the 548 or say 550, and that would be, the revised sort of subsidy. And similar to what we did last year, where we gave 100,000 back, I would expect at this budget time, we would give something back, or alternatively, and again, the hard part here is we can't bank on the 331. Again, this is just one snippet. We got to look at the overall HOA and where it shakes out. But we can either, use some of that surplus to offset next year's HOA fees, or we can make a decision as a board to push it into reserves and sort of replenish a little bit of what we spent on the pump or other things we know might be coming down the pipeline. But so far, again, the 331 or the 37 positive, if we hit the rest of the year. And again, I wouldn't expect that 331 to fall off a cliff, so I wouldn't think that would disappear. But again, I always think we're one hurricane, tornado, or bulkhead collapse away from, some serious revenue challenges. But again, rather be here than the other way around if we were expecting 293 and we lost 593 or something. So I'll just pause there. I know it's a new slide, and literally just slapped it in here 2 hours before, because again, we got a question on the net income, net loss.
Alan, I think you need to explain what SRI and GRI stand for.
Oh, sorry. Those are the tiers. Yeah, good point. Those are the tiered designations. So actually, if you look at the financials, all of our various different segments, so golf maintenance. So the G stands for golf maintenance, the S stands for shops. I actually don't know what the REA stands for. I think it's just a first service. But each of the financials has that code to start with, and then it will say pro shops, or it'll say GREA, and then it'll say golf maintenance, or it'll say PREA plaza amenities. So that's just the coding. And you're right, I should have said it. So the top line is golf revenue, all inclusive. The second line is pro shop expenses. The third line is golf maintenance expenses. Good point, James. I'll fix that.
So on a year-to-date actual versus budget, we're 38, if I can just round off, 38,000 in net income, which
Correct.
is 331,000 ahead of budget.
Correct. Yep. So that is just taking the 293 loss and adding the 37, right? So the opposite sign of the 293 plus the 37 gets you to 331.
Okay, I get it. And what you're projecting is if we hit budget for I guess it's the last 6 months of the year.
Yep.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Diesel, John, Neil? Yep. All right, then this is just another cut of data that we have access to now, sort of across 4Ts and Salesforce. And some of it was, even for me, was probably, eye-opening. So all this is trying to do is say, and what is our profile among our homes, right? How many play 0 rounds? How many play, nominal number of rounds, 6 to 10, 11 to 20, and then how many play like 100 rounds and over? And then it's just sort of like lining up that percentage of the total. And again, all those add up to the 937. And then the percentage is 486 divided by 937 just gives you the 52% that play no rounds. And then all I did was take that total allocation, including the golf reserves and the grill, 76,000. And that's the 1,203,000. And I just split it out on a sort of a basis of the 55 or whatever for the percentage. Just to, so again, I think what jumped off the page is, I've always heard we had a lot of people that don't golf, but it's more than half, which is a little bit surprising, I suppose. And then there's a few people at the top that play frequently. So again, I'll just pause there. Any commentary on the?
So, sorry, Alan, if I add the numbers up, we have 70% of the homes play less than 1 round a month. Is that correct if you add the bottom 3?
Yes, you're right. If you're doing it on a monthly basis, the 10 rounds equates to less than 1 round a month. Yes, correct. Yep.
Okay. That's higher than I thought it was going to be.
Anybody else? All right. Okay. Last slide before we'll pause board input, and then we'll open it up to the online in the community. So basically, overarching strategic question for, again, 1 to 5 years is how should the golf course asset be managed? On the two sort of spectrums or the goalposts, an asset to drive lower HOA fees or a lifestyle member experience amenity. Between, both golfers, non-golfers, infrequent golfers, frequent golfers, the first bullet point is consistent, right? Everybody seems to want lower HOA dues or very minimal appetite for increases, right? We've seen that whether the increase is 4%, 5%, or certainly when it's higher. On the sort of the non-golf left side, again, continuing to optimize public play and, to help reduce the HOA burden. And probably some increase to member golf fees to reduce the HOA burden. On the other side, we hear about the increase in public play, certainly about getting tee times. Even myself, I would prefer to continue to see probably a low cost round. And, again, on that side is okay with subsidy, similar to other amenities in keeping with the general lifestyle community model. So the kind of the broad questions is what dollars or percentage should come from each revenue source? Do we have the right balance, that right seesaw or teeter-totter? What factors will evolve over time? So again, if, simple one is if we have more golfers moving the community and we have to dial back on public to make member play available, obviously that has a big impact in the revenue, right? Because you saw the average race we get between those two. Conversely, if golfers move out, that probably has an opposite effect. And then it's just, if the balance is not optimized or if there's more opportunity, what are those levers? And that's what the rest of the slides go on to talk about. And we'll go one by one next, but I'll just pause there, open it up for any of the board members.
Alan, I think it needs to be noted that it's a choice that owners don't play, just like I don't play pickleball. I haven't had anybody say to me about lower HOA fees. I don't know about John.
No.
But to be honest with you, it's anybody that actually lives here is benefiting from the fact that we have a golf course. So That's just a bit of a point there.
Yeah.
James Neal?
So
I
I couldn't actually,
I couldn't, I mean, it was a lot of background noise there, but, you know, obviously this is an opportunity for us to look at the overall community, and I think that's important for us to look at the overall community and the impact that golf has on that, both from an income and an expense perspective. You know, so I think this is a great opportunity for us to do a deep dive into this and look at what the opportunities are to continue to increase the revenue and minimize any increases in the HOA fees for the whole community, because we are a lifestyle community at the end of the day.
Go ahead. Folks, please keep it down.
Neil, just a point, and bearing in mind, this is my business. Golf course communities, which is what we are. Historically, the value of our homes depend on the golf course.
No,
So everybody here is an owner. Sorry, Neil. Everybody here is an owner, whether they choose to play golf or not. They're still benefiting from the fact that they are in a golf course community, and therefore the properties will have a particular premium because they're in a golf course community.
but that's where we disagree, Liesl, because we're in a lifestyle community.
That's fair enough.
Golf is a part. I didn't interrupt you. Golf is a part of that, but it's a lifestyle community which also incorporates other aspects. You know, such as pickleball, such as the pools, such as the plaza, and golf is a significant part of it, absolutely, and an important part of it. But it is a lifestyle community.
It is, but our golf course and our tee sheet are our biggest assets. And we have to look after them. And if we don't look after them, then our house values go down. So if our pickleball courts don't work, or the swimming pool's closed, I mean, Hampton Lakes filled their swimming pool in a couple of years ago, didn't have any effect on their properties. But when Legends closed, you ask anybody who owned property in Legends and their property values dropped plummeted. So I'm just telling you from my experience.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said.
so hang on here. So when you say the T sheet is our most valuable asset or one-off, right? What do you mean by that? Just so I understand what you're saying.
Well, what I mean is we're getting money in revenue. We don't get revenue from pickleball or from the plaza, really. So that's my point, that we have to look after the golf course. We have to look after our tee sheet. And that's the biggest driver, as far as I can see, with regard to property prices here.
So how does that not make optimizing public play? How are they inconsistent with each other?
No, I'm not saying we stop public play, James. What I'm saying is we have a balance. And you know, my argument all along has been that there should be more private play here than public play, and a higher rate of public play. But that's something that we have to get a balance on. But what my point is to Neil has talked about it being a lifestyle community. Yes, it is. But the golf course is the most important part of that lifestyle community.
Yes.
So Lisa, a quick question though. So would you add this? In other words, I agree that, again, we're a lifestyle community and we have this great asset. Are you saying that we should have more private play, but charge members more? So if we were to double the member rate?
Yeah.
Is that what you're?
Alan, no, that's not what I said. I said I would like to see higher public rates. And so therefore you'd be getting maybe a lower amount of players, but they'd be still paying a higher rate than we're getting at the moment. And that's where, in fairness, John McTighe moved it in the right direction, as far as I could see last Thursday, when he showed the new wholesale rates, which were much healthier in my mind than they had been previously.
Right, but sorry, I'm just playing devil's advocate. So is the value of the golf course and the value of the community, if there was, like, if you're buying in this community and you look at the HOA fee, and let's just say the $1,200, $120 a month, if that came off your HOA fee, would new golfers be like, oh, I'm not gonna buy there because I've got to pay more to golf?
Alan, I talk to buyers here regularly, and once you break down our dues, they're not actually too bad.
No. Right.
And if you no, hang on. if you, and every house I sell here, I have a breakdown of the dues. And I can tell you now, if you were having to pay for your pine trees to be trimmed, your mulch to be done, your lawns to be done, the fertilizer to be done, your platinum package, the golf is a very small part of what it costs. It actually is pretty good value here. And you can have a look at Reunion, or you can have a look at any of the other communities that are similar. And we probably have the best facilities and probably the best value HOA.
At least we're on the same page, right? In other words,
Yeah.
I think, the value we have through our Spectrum contract and our landscaping. I mean, I drive probably my friends crazy because, I was out to dinner the other night with literally somebody who lived across the street. And after niceties or whatever, I literally asked, I said, so what do you pay for your HOA? And then I immediately go to, what do you pay for your cable, internet? And they pay $285 a month. We pay in the low 60s. Right. And actually our service, we get, depending on if you got the two most streaming boxes or the DVR, we've actually got better service. So I agree, but I think people still just look at the number and say between the Oasis, the Masters, Country Club, we pay on average, say $900 a month. I think people just look at that or say 10,000 or 11,000 a year and go, oh my God, that's insane. Right. So I think that's the challenge we face is, yes, we can agree that we have great value and we've taken a lot of good decisions, contracts, et cetera. Because I asked about the landscaping too, and it's $125 a month, but it doesn't include palm trees, irrigation, mulch, any of that. So we're apples to apples, we're at like 70, they're at 125, and that's not even a commercial company, that's a retired serviceman. So I'm not sure you could find, so again, like, I think it is good value, but I don't know that means we shouldn't look to make it a better value, right? And again, I don't think we're looking to reinvent the wheel here, but I think we're looking to possibly, and that's why we're talking about the levers, are there any ones we want to consider for 1 year, 3 year, 5 years kind of thing. And again, we're not making any decisions tonight, it's just a discussion. Sorry, James, anything else?
No, nothing from me.
All right, so I think this is the first section where we'd open it up for community feedback. So Stephanie, I don't know how you want to
Okay,
coordinate that.
folks. Yep. So if you do have any comments that you'd like to share, we would just ask that you raise your virtual hand on the Zoom call, and I will invite you to unmute yourself. And then you could introduce yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes for your comments. Okay, we have the first person. It is Brendan O'Carroll. So Brendan, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good. Lisa has said most of what I would like to say. We bought here for the golf course. The golf course maintains the value of our homes. And if anything, we should increase the price of making it more exclusive to play here, for public to play here. And I think our HOA is great value. I think it's the best value in the area. So I think Lisa's on the right track. I think without the golf course, we wouldn't be here. And if you remember rightly, before the plaza, before the pickleball courts were there, before the tennis courts were there, before the pool was there, before the plaza was there, we still got a premium price for houses because we have a golf course. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much, Brendan. Okay, at this time, we don't have anyone else who is raising their hand.
Stephanie, I can't seem to find where to raise my hand, but I do have 2 questions here in the game room.
Okay, you can ask one.
Yep, absolutely. We have Darren Lefebvre. Darren?
Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me from back here, or do I need to go up to your computer?
They should be able to hear you.
We can hear you, Darren. We can hear you.
Just some comments on the On the page 7, the financials, bring out a point. I just want to point out that there is a current ratio of 54% public, 46% private play, resident play in the course, which I think is a very good mix. Something we strive hard to get to, and it's paying off with a 13.5%, 13.4% profit margin year to date. That is showing that's showing a very profitable mix. That's wonderful. I'm not sure that slide that you came up with, Alan, that you just came up with this afternoon. I haven't had time to review that, so I can't speak to that as to what those projections are showing. I do want to point out that also on that slide, you have member golfing, you have the average round per round, and you're showing member golfing at 2467. I believe that is a not totally accurate. It's only part of it. I believe that you have to include the owner assessment above in that as well, which brings that up to $61.93 average per round, which is getting very close. Public plays at 91, but when you consider the fact that only residents pay for the reserves as well as any special assessments, that's a pretty good even mix. We just put over $300,000, as you said, into the pumps. Public play is not paying for that. We are paying for that. So it's a pretty good even mix right now. When you're talking about lifestyle community, and I will talk to that just briefly. It is, but only golf appears through this town hall as being considered to support that lifestyle community. While there is a $75 plaza fee, that's all it is. It has not been raised. When you consider what's going to golf, according to the numbers you have on here, that's $107 per month for golf with reserves and everything all in. You've got your slide 9, which shows pools, gyms, and courts and all of that at $85.08. But when you add the plaza to that, that's $160 versus the $107 per month per home. I just want to point out also that if you look at the plaza, it opened in August of 2019 at $75. That has never been increased amount to inflation, which has increased in that time 24%. If you did that annually for when it opened in August every year, and raised that rate for inflation, the current cost that we should be charging is $96 a month. Yes. At $96 extra per month, that's $236,124 annually for the community as a whole. With the plaza having lost $43,690 year to date as of June 30th, that more than covers that loss and then some.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. That is 3 minutes. So Mitch, I know you said you had somebody else in there. We're gonna go on to the others who have their hands raised, and then we will come back to the next person in the game room. So next up, we have George Haggerty. George, you should be able to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Great. And this might not be the right place or time for it, but I'm not sure what the rest of the agenda holds. My concerns run to, increasing member revenue, because I have this feeling, and it may be supported by some math here, is that we have a lot of free golf. If, for instance, 4 members, I think can be charged and should be chargeable. You have a greens fee, or I'm sorry, a cart fee, a trail fee, you like to call it, and it's cart specific, right? It's really a discount, a volume discount program, a greens fee discount program, right? You have members that will play 100 rounds by April. We are then subsidizing their play. I don't know what your cost per round is, but I suspect it's much higher than $20 a round or $17 a round, whatever they're being charged. So when you do the math, shouldn't that be addressed that it's a discount program and it ought not be just free golf for the balance of the year? I think 10% of your membership, as some of those prior slides showed, are playing 75 to 100 rounds. Is there some time at which we take a look at that and say, we're subsidizing that? That averages out to that player at like $17 a round. When I go down there and I have my own cart, I pay $26. Nobody's subsidizing me. But I feel something like that needs to be addressed because it has a tendency to be abused, in my view.
Okay, thank you very much, George. Okay, next up, we are going to move to Dan Metz. Dan, you should be able to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. With all due respect, I've heard that comment before that this is a golf community. I've lived in the 2.5 miles away from Champions Gate for the last 10 years. I was involved with the HOA up there. We saw this place being built. And the whole thing is that when we bought into this community, we bought in because of the lifestyle. I'm not a golfer. My wife's not a golfer, but we understand the concept. But we bought it because of the lifestyle. And I also have a strong feeling on how things are being ran. And I think that what's happening with the board, they're on target with everything. That's all I have.
All right, thank you so much, Dan. Okay. We do have somebody in the Plaza game room again.
We have
Go ahead.
Larry Bickle.
Larry Bickle.
Hey, nice
Okay.
Larry Bickle here. Hey, a couple things. Everybody that moved into this community saw documents, right? And every document starts off as Champions Gate, Country Club at Champions Gate, right? And the people have been around here for a while. Obviously, they bought here exactly for the golf because nothing else was here. And we did that. So it sounds to me that you guys are kind of on the cusp of turning this into a public golf course. Because that's the only thing to me would make sense when you start bumping member times out of the way. And I think you're gonna really cause a lot of problems with people that may tend to start looking elsewhere to live, and that's fine. I'm sure nobody really cares to hear that, but if you lost 20 of your people that's been around here for a while, that I know for a fact spent a good deal of money either at the club or at the plaza and all that stuff, that's a pretty big dent to fill. But I need to know, are we a country club? And Neil, I appreciate what you say about lifestyle, but I bought into a country club. I didn't buy Champions Gate lifestyle. Now, if we want to take that a bit further and we say the golf course is part of the lifestyle, well, let's start charging a pool membership. I never go to a pool. Why should I have to pay for the pool? I don't play pickleball. Why should I play? I mean, again, I'm only saying that just to say it. But you want to talk about fairness within the community, like it all started off. Okay, if you're a golfer, you pay this. If you're not a golfer, you pay this. Very simple. So anyway, with that said, HOA costs, as you guys know, never go down, right? And we need to consider, all these cost of living adjustments and be there. Every single person in this community is paying more money this year than they paid last year. But you know what? So are we as a club. So, I know people are going to complain and they can't afford it or whatever. But it is what it is. I mean, that's a community that we moved into. And the last thing, Alan, I wanted to mention to you, when you talked about tournament club credit, isn't that paid for by the event fees to the golfers that play? I mean, it's not a giveaway by the club, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
I don't know where Alan is, so I'll answer that for you, Larry. If you pay $100, just picking a number, and 30 of it is going to the tournaments for the prizes, then yes, the entry fees are paid by the actual players in that event, not the rest of the community.
I didn't want the rest of the community to think you're giving away money to golfers, because you're not. Because we're paying actually in excess of what we actually get back for any event. So that's all I got.
Well, hang on, what do you mean by that, Larry? Is that because when you pay for an event, that $100.
Put it this way, this past year, nobody, and I know a lot of people in this room, could get anybody to justify the cost versus what was paid out or what was given away. And that's fine, I'll pay for it. I mean, it's $900, $1,000 for the member guest, that's fine. But figure it out, like be transparent. Where is this money going? Because if we don't know that, we can only suspect that, you know, it's not being paid out.
Okay, we have reached 3 minutes. Thank you, Larry.
I got cut off.
Larry.
Sorry, James. Okay, okay, we have we have nobody else in line to speak except for somebody in the game room. So we can go ahead with that. Mitch, do you have somebody else in there?
Yes, I had Tom Phelan next.
Okay.
A question, not a question, but a statement that I have is last year, I believe, is when everybody got in an uproar in regard to the HOA fees going up. And yes, they did go up. But what I don't think a lot of people understand is the HOA fees went up because of the fact that we didn't have a reserve fund. Okay, of which I believe the turnover committee should have caught that, and Lennar should have had an accrual set up for a lot of the things that go on, because in normal business, you always have an accrual on maintenance type items over a long period of time. So last year was kind of a catch up. We got to catch it up to build our reserve up, and thank goodness it was done because of the fact that we're able to do the pump house without a question. Okay, and we need to continue that, and that needs to be done. And it should have been done. Lennar should owe us a ton of money to fund that. That was one thing. The other questions I have is, where did all the data come for the presentation? Okay, where did the data come from? If it came from First Services, did Alan, it seems like you were the driver in putting all the financials together. And if First Services just gave you the data, was there any auditing of the data being done? Okay, and my other question is here, the golf shop. I don't know if anybody looked at that and said, what are involved in the golf course, the pro shop credits? Not the credits, but the expenses. You know, right now on the thing for the year to date, it's, you know, the annualized budget was $1.5 million. What's in that number? Okay, because if it's set, you know, it's gotta be, I want, what's in that number? Because that seems awful high to me for 1.5 million for a pro shop.
For what we get.
Yeah, for what we get.
Yeah.
So there's some questions. And my time stops now.
So
Thank you,
Tom,
Tom.
on the data, so most of the data is sourced from Salesforce or 4Ts and tied back to the financials. So generally, I'll access that myself. I will not, I do not rely on First Service to pull that or provide any of that for me. So again, I'll take the published financials and I'll glean a fair amount from there. But when it comes down to like member, you know, that's all coming out of Salesforce and Salesforce reporting tables that I tie back into the financials. As far as that, I can't pull up my data in front of me, but when you look at the pro shop, obviously there's salaries, benefits, all the normal stuff there. There's the cost of goods sold on the merch. There's utilities, there's property taxes, there's any contracts we have, like I think the golf carts definitely run through the pro shop as opposed to like Ethan's equipment runs through there. So that I think that's 100,000. There's a GPS in the golf course. That's another 40,000. So it's all those kind of things, right? So there's, and again, if you look at the financials, you can sort of see that breakout. I will correct you on last year's fees had unfortunately nothing to do with reserves. The reserves actually have stayed static at 45 since turnover 2021 ballpark. So last year was just operating costs. You know, every year since turnover or the year after turnover, I can't remember, Neil would remember better than I because that predates me. But it's been $45 and it generates just under $500,000 per year. And then we obviously invest that, so we get a little interest on that. But last year's was purely operating increases, cost of living, things like that.
No, you're correct, Alan. The reserves were brought in, I think, in the 2022. We turned over in August 2021 from Lennar, and the reserves were introduced, I believe, in 2022. And also, just to add to that, you mentioned about Lennar should have put reserves in place, etc. Under Florida statute, they had no obligation to put any reserves in place for a HOA association. They do for condos, but not for single family homes. So Lennar being Lennar, they did not put any reserves in place.
And you'll just say that that's consistent with the master, right? Doesn't have, I mean, I think they're trying to.
That's correct.
I think on the
Yep.
condo side, they've got some, but on the overall general stuff, I don't think they've got reserves in place yet. And obviously, eventually, if the master buys the Oasis Club, darn sure Lennar is not going to provide any reserves on that, right? So that's going to be another, again, post turnover, probably a year out. I think the master is almost 2 years out, or maybe, yeah. That's usually when the reserves kick in, because you got to get the reserve study, and you got to figure out, what's your funding model, and then you got to add that to your HOA fees. So that's why it's great pre-turnover, and then post-turnover, all these like little things, if you're not familiar with it, sort of like come in, you're like, oh, didn't realize that. But that's why, the Oasis Club is something that's on the horizon, both from an operating perspective. If we have to buy it, how do you finance? I mean, like Aaron Grace, I think, mentioned in the contract, the original Oasis Club, Lennar has some crazy calculation at $40 million, tack in the new one, another 20 maybe, or 30. Now, I don't think it's ever going to get bought for that, but it's tens of millions probably. So that's going to get financed over a period of time, likely. So yeah, so there's, again, strategically what's happening in 1, 3, 5 years that, we may not be able to control some of it, but we can sort of like control what's in our backyard.
Okay, we do have Kathy Owens. Kathy, you should be able to unmute.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I just want to say I did get kind of waylaid buying here because the fees were so low and it included golf. And that was the reason I came here, because I love golf. I don't golf very much anymore. I heard somebody say this is a golf community, and I thought so as well. And I had a golf cart for a while, but I was not allowed to put in pavers to park a golf cart because I'm in a villa, so I have a very small garage. Don't want to park my car outside and have to run in and out because I'm a single woman. And I didn't want to have to come home at night after dark and have to pull into my garage. So a golf course community, yes, but no, not treated like that as far as I am concerned. I don't think it is treated that way. So I don't golf anymore. It's very hard. I sold my golf cart. I don't golf anymore. It's too hard to put my clubs in and out of my car by myself. And many times I get over to the golf course, there's nobody there to unload them or put them back in. So I really don't golf very much anymore, very seldom. And I loved it. On the other hand, if our fees get so high, our HOA fees, which they're getting that way for me, it just prices me right out of the community, a community that I love. So that's all I wanted to say.
All right, thank you, Kathy.
Stephanie, you're muted.
I'm so sorry, I'm muted and I'm speaking. We have been doing the comment section for about 15 to 20 minutes now. Board, would you like to move on with the next section? We do have 2 more hands that are raised, from someone who has already spoken, or would you like to hear their comments?
Yeah, I'm open to hearing that.
Me too. It's town hall, guys.
Okay. Okay, it's somebody has lowered their hand, but we have somebody in the game room.
Yes, I have 2 who have not made comments and 1 who has. We have Terry Green next.
Okay, go ahead, Terry.
I don't have any questions. I just want to make some comments. I think this community means different things to different people. There are a lot of doctors in the room. I know most of the residents here play golf. I don't know everyone in the community. I hope to meet everyone someday. So it does mean different things to different people, but I think we can all agree that golf course is our largest asset. Everybody agree with that? It's our largest asset.
Yes.
So our job as a community and the board is to manage that asset properly. If the goal is to reduce the HOA fees with the golf club, I'm fundamentally against that. But at the same time, we have to manage that. Currently, the mix is. Hello? Man, you got a guy looks through this is really what I hate watching. What is that? But sorry, Terry.
Sorry about that. Someone's phone went off. Go ahead, Terry.
So we have to decide the balance, and what the current balance I think is workable that we had last year. I agree with trying to raise the fees. Southern Dunes did a great job of that. We have to find out how to do that. We need to try to emulate that and become a premium club, have the best tee boxes, have the best green, have the best feet, have the best starters, have the best rangers. We do it the best. We want to play Champions Gate because it's the best. I don't use a pool up here, but I don't have a problem with paying for the pool. I relate it to a simple analogy, taxes. How many of you in this room use every road and highway in Florida? Nobody. Do you pay for them? Yes, you do. So that's much like this community. We all have to contribute, but we have to find a balance to make that work. So I do think this community means different things to different people. And the golf course, if you don't use it, I would encourage you to do so. If not, we understand. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Terry. We don't have anybody else on the call that has their hands raised. Mitch, do you have anybody in the game room who's not spoken yet?
I have one more who has not spoken yet. It's Craig Reynolds.
You forgot one.
Craig, go
All
ahead.
right, go ahead.
You're good. You're good.
Hi, everyone. First of all, thanks to the board. It's a very difficult job trying to manage all this, and I think we all appreciate that. For me, though, I think there are some data points, one specific data point that's missing, plus some assumptions if you want to change the balance of public and private and what you're going to charge. Starting with that first, I'd love to see some what if analysis, instead of just saying we should do this and do that. For instance, if you want to increase public play, how much could we actually do? Does anybody know that? If we open it up more than just a Thursday and other tee times? We're assuming that if we open it up, we'll get a lot more. But I think seeing that in some sort of financial analysis would help. The other big thing, the golfers certainly feel that golf course is the biggest asset, as Terry Green just said. I think what will be helpful if we actually do an analysis of comparable homes in a community that has a golf course versus a community that doesn't have a golf course. Now, I don't think we could do it, for 25 because it's difficult to sell houses everywhere now. But I think we need to, instead of just saying the golf course adds value, I think we can actually prove it by doing comparable values of homes. And do away with, well, it does or it doesn't. I bought in here because there's a golf course. Well, why am I paying for a golf course when I don't golf? Well, if it increased the value of the house at the beginning and keeps the value of the home higher than average in a non-golf course community, then yeah, pay the HOA fees because the value of your home is, being kept intact or potentially growing. So those are the two things I want to say, because if we just argue back and forth, if this is a golf community or a lifestyle, we're not going to get anywhere. I think we need some hard data on what the golf course actually provides in home value. And that's easily done, in my opinion. Well said.
There you go. Good job, Craig.
All right. Okay, thank you so much. Board, we don't have anybody else on the call that has raised their hand. However, we do have one more person in the game room who has already spoken. Can we take one final comment on this topic?
We'll take it, and then this has to be the last one, Stephanie. We'll be here till 2 o'clock.
Got it. Okay, go ahead. Who is it, Mitch?
All right, we have Darren Lefebvre one more time.
Okay.
Okay, and this is the last comment.
Real quick, I just wanna, again, I wanna commend the board. You just brought up the idea about why, Alan, why the HOA dues were increased and how they were increased with inflation. I supported that then, I support it now. Thank you for doing that. It needed to be done. Where we have fallen down, I'll bring it up again, is with the plaza fees. And we did not do that with the plaza, and that is where we are leading right now. We did not increase those dues, and we're running at that same $75 rate. So when you talk about economics and the economics of the situation, that's what's killing us, because we didn't take that $75 and do to it what inflation did to everything else. And it's causing us hardship. And I know that people don't want their dues to go up. I get it. I know it. I understand it. I worked in taxes for a whole life. I get it. I saw disappointment on people's faces, but you owe what you owe. And we're gonna dig deeper and deeper holes if we don't address it.
Okay, thank you very much, Darren. Okay, guys, that's gonna conclude that comment section, for the first section. Alan, are you ready to move on?
Yes. So,
Okay,
the,
go ahead.
so the next, there we go. So the next 8 or 9 slides or whatever are all, levers that could be pulled, could not be pulled, could be dialed up, dialed down, all that kind of stuff. So this is just one example, monetizing the driving range, right? There's a couple of different ways that you could do that. If you have a book tee time, you get a bag of balls as opposed to the unlimited. You could charge for a bag of balls to public or members, even if there's a book time. You charge for only additional, charge for a bag of balls when there's no tee time, because obviously some people go out there and hit balls for, 4 or 5 hours at a time. You charge based on the time of the day. After 11 a.m., no charge, but during peak, charge. This could be ballpark 25 to 100K. If you take the public rounds and you figure half of them will spend the $5 or $10, whatever it is for a bag, or you add members. So again, there's a lot of, there's a possibility for a new revenue stream. And it could result less wear and tear in the range, or maybe a better hit experience. We could add mats for public play day, like on Thursday, public's hitting for mats. So again, there's different, obviously you have an investment to buy mats, but you have risks, right? So if you change this lever, the bookings go down, right? Because, you just have to look on Facebook to be like, oh, so-and-so charging for, range balls. Oh, who doesn't? Let's go there kind of thing. Would people start hoarding range balls? Would they take them? Would they, all different kinds of things. So again, when you turn a lever, you don't always know what the consequences or risks are. Even like, we talked about on Thursday night with raising the wholesale rates. That could work or that could backfire, right? We don't know. Even last year when we made some of the changes, until you get through it, you don't know it's going to be fully successful. So that's an example. So then the next slides are just like, if there's levers that we want to, or dials we want to tweak, ultimately, as we go into budget season, what do we want to do as we go into 27, 28, 29, 30? What are those things that we want to change potentially? So I gotta move with my things in the way, but so the first one, public play days, right? So Thursday has been hugely successful. I think in peak season, we were seeing 20K plus on Thursdays. So that's a lever option, right? We could add a second public day. And one thing I do want to point out, we didn't touch on, I forgot to mention, but we have all the appendices that have a lot of background information. We didn't want to go through that, but if you haven't, take the time to read through some of that about peak season, how we get our revenue from wholesalers, et cetera. But obviously the highest public demand days in order from what our data tells us is Saturday, Friday, Sunday, right? So currently we don't sell early morning Saturday times, but, and I'm not saying we would foresee doing that, but, that's the highest value from a public. So when we talk about let's raise public rates, if you want the highest public rate, it's a Saturday and peak season, between probably 7:30 and 10:30. Sell Monday to the public, change from Thursday, add a second day, sell Monday and Friday maybe, or keep Thursday, but add Monday or Tuesday. And obviously the drastic one would be sell Saturday, Friday, or Sunday. That's probably the biggest kick as far as revenue based on what we've seen on Thursdays. And you also add in pro shop revenue, grill sales revenue. And it's, you don't need to change other levers or there's a lot more levers you have to change to generate that same level of income. And then I think someone mentioned, are there even enough public players to fill those tee times? I mean, during the winter, Orlando is pretty hot and, I mean, popular, not temperature wise. So, again, we have no guarantee that, we could find an extra 2,000 public players to fill those tee times, but all indications are we could. And then the impact on member tee times. So I'll just pause there, and if anybody wants to add anything, board member.
I know Southern Dunes have a process whereby if you're playing, even if you're have a tee time where you have to actually pay for your balls. I would be in favor of looking at that for outside play. For members, maybe we use our Plaza card. If there's a machine that just that gives the balls out of the basket, so everybody brings their Plaza card up. They can get get as many balls as they like if they have a Plaza card. But I have often been on the putting green, and there's been people just come off the car park and they're I don't know them, and they're just hitting balls, and we don't know are they owners, are they not owners, and do they just know that they can get free range balls if they go to Champions Gate? So I think it would be something that we should look at for outside play, and for members. We still get our free balls, but we have a process whereby we use our Plaza card.
So I had Ben price out a golf ball machine, and then we'd have to get it so it could accept the swiping, et cetera, et cetera. There's an investment to be made. He's getting the final thing, but we're looking somewhere probably, if we were to do that, about 14, 15K. Having said that, will it be able to accept the Plaza access card? That would require SWS to hook into there, so I'm not sure the logistics.
Oh, maybe, okay, it doesn't need to be our Plaza card, but something.
No, I get it. We could also create our own. We could create our own new membership card if you would, and how we could get that. I don't know. Okay, so when we look at that, yes. The other option is we went back to whether or not you could be on the range balls the old way, because it's not really a new idea. It's actually going back to the old way, because for those of us that have been around for a long time, you used to get them in an onion bag, and there were different sizes depending on if it was warm up or 50 ball. 30, 50, and 100 is, I believe, what the. But having said that, we can get the details on whether or not the machine would work. I am seeing someone put up there about getting a token. They're in the comments, instead of using the swiping of the cards, and then a member would just walk into the pro shop and pick up the tokens. Yes, that is, I guess it was Cranston. Yes, that is an idea. Then we have to get a different type of machine for that. So
I think it's something we should look at, and also maths. Because sometimes I am never up there in the morning unless there's something happening. And I go up there and there's no grass left. So maths might help in busy times,
I mean, if you take Thursday into account with all the public play and you're charging a minimum of $8 a bag, and that's a small bag, that's a lot of revenue just on a Thursday. Never mind the rest of the week.
Right. So on the 20,000 rounds, $8 is 160K. And then when we look at the mats, Ben is talking with Callaway on Top Tracer and setting up something along those lines. But yes, it would. How much is that investment? No idea yet. But whether or not it could be done, and there's a revenue stream that could be attached to that as well. Because part of the difficulty we have with all of this is the most desired months are January, February, March, and it also happens to be the least amount of daylight hours. So we have to figure a way of capturing that market, because any market that we can capture, any revenue that we can capture outside of hitting our actual tee sheet is a complete and utter win for the community, because it leaves space open on the tee sheet for member play, public play, whatever we want to sell. But that is incremental revenue, and it's off stream revenue, so we are digging into that, but we're a bit away from having enough to come forward with something of sort of substance. But I digress a bit, I guess.
Might be an idea for Ben maybe to talk to the boys in Southern Dunes. Their system works really well, just to get get their take on it. It might be something we can learn from there.
Well, Orange County charges for their balls too. So, I mean, a lot of courses charge for the practice balls.
Yeah.
Right, the challenge we have with that, John, though, is that Southern Dunes and Orange County have how many members each?
None.
They don't have members.
Right. So they're everyone that comes there is treated. So we have to figure out, remember, we have the member stream and then the non. So when we come up with an idea, we have to make sure that it can work both ways, which Cranston's idea on the tokens actually might be that solution, and hence why we do town halls.
I think the tokens, I think it's there's nothing there that isn't fixable. Whether it's tokens or a swipe card or whatever, but all you have to do is go in. I tell Dominic or Kevin or whoever it is I want to hit a few balls, and they give me a card, and I go out and I do it, and grand, if I find an outside player and I'm coming in and I want to warm up for my game, grand, that'll be no problem. That'll be $7 for 50 balls. I don't have many, and off we go. So it's not rocket science, you know.
No, nothing is rocket science except for rocket science.
Exactly.
There is one comment on the chat that I wanted with the Rick Jacob with the special pricing on Golf Now. So to get the Golf Now access, we have to give up 2 tee times a day. They can sell that for up to, I can't remember if it's 20 or 25% below our list price. And then on those ones, they get full pay for that. So if they sell, like we take nothing off of that, and that's to be able to get into their system. And this is common with everybody. We tried to do a flat fee deal. So when you see a posting on Golf Now where it says, I think what they call them, a special deal. No, they call them hot deals. That ain't us. That hot deal is our fee for getting the access into their people and their platforms, etc. 8 balls a day is what they got. It's not 4 times a day. We have a contract for 8 people, Rick.
All right, so I think what I will do is I'll just run through all the levers, then we can open it up for full. Obviously, public play is one. League play, again, options around, do you limit participation to just members and annual pass holders, no member guests, cap the size of the days, straight tee time, current shotgun, again, freeing up additional tee times for non-league members. Obviously, the risks are, again, lower participation due to restrictions, negative impact on member experience, lower grill spending. Club events, open equal access. So again, move the events off weekend days, because again, those are highly profitable. Off peak season as well. So not February, March, do it November, December. There's a couple, I think one event that practice days, et cetera, span more than just 2 days. I think we've done some of the morning start, afternoon starts. And I think Larry was talking about this, but historically this year, I think there was 1 or 2, we might have built in a little bit of a profit, but it usually we just break even. If we took in $100 between swag and the gift cards or the credit book, $100 went out. So there was no real compensation for the course closure. So again, opportunities is to mitigate lost revenue, higher revenue without the weekend course closures. Again, lower participation, and events not as accessible to working members, guests. Member guests, we currently give a member discount. Do we keep that going? We have a policy, but it's not overly enforceable, or people have found creative workarounds. But do we come up with a better process to tie it to the member account? So in my account, I'd have 6. So as soon as I hit 6, nobody else could be a member guest with me, as opposed to the member guest name where they can change the abbreviation, the spelling, etc. Do you limit play or discount rate until after 11 a.m.? Again, additional revenue opportunity, drive play to non-peak times. Trail fees. Again, so there are data, I forget the gentleman's name who brought, but we do have members that pay less than $10 around on average. because they do the unlimited, they do the trail fee and they play, 200-300 rounds a year. So again, do you cap that? Do you say like, okay, your trail fee is X, but you get 100 rounds for that, or 80 rounds, or whatever that number might be. And then after that, you pay, say the NTF, the $26. And then, time of year access fee, time of day access fee. Again, if you're playing Saturday morning at 8 a.m. in February, is that a different price than if you're playing August 8th or August 11th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon with rain and heat? Create some kind of membership fee. I think I heard somebody talk about that. And then if you buy the membership fee, you pay a lower per round fee, but if you don't, you pay a higher per round fee. Or do we just keep it as is and just make inflationary tweaks? Again, the opportunities, you guys probably all read these. Again, the risks are pretty much the same. Always going to be like lower participation, member experience, CRT fees. Again, similar thing, you pay the same surge pricing depending on time of year. I mean, everybody seems to have that, whether it's Disney, airlines, etc. Similar risks and opportunities. We're down to not that many annual pass holders. Do you eliminate the program altogether, grandfather in the current ones? Do you maintain it? Again, I think one of the challenges of comparing real estate values or the value of the golf course is most of the communities, whether it's Union, Providence, like the HOA doesn't actually own the golf course, right? It's sort of a separate entity. It might be like associated with it, but you buy a membership into that and you choose to do that or not do that. I think Providence might have even come out with their 2026 pricing already, which is I think very similar to our annual pass holder, where you pay a flat fee and then you pay a cart rate of 22 or something. And again, the opportunities, less competition potentially with members for the same tee times, revenue sold at higher public pricing than the pass holders. Again, that depends on how much they play. And then, what else? What other opportunities exist that, we've not thought of, or what other dials can we tweak if we don't have the balance correct? So board, any additional comments on any of those?
Sorry, Alan, can you just clarify, we have a few questions here about the last couple of things. You're just spitballing things that are, if we did this is what might happen, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so similar to when we took the decision on the rental club pricing, or even just the recent decision on wholesale. Again, the problem is you have no guarantee of, if you tweak a dial or a lever, you're going to get hopefully some positive, you're going to get the opportunities, but is there going to be unintended consequences, or are the risks going to outweigh those opportunities? So again, to go back to the driving range, if we charge for the balls, do somehow our, public play on Thursdays drop off because $8 breaks the bank for those people, or they just go up to the first tee and hit, and they don't care about, using the range.
Okay, that was it. It's just, I just wanted to clarify that for the that are here. Thanks, Alan.
Yep.
So, okay, Alan.
Hey, 1 second.
Alan, this is John. I have one question. Can you explain what you mean by allow APH type option for those that fall outside our documents, similar to additional Plaza access card members?
Yeah, so you remember the Plaza thing that we took, where we sort of charged a nominal fee for, you had two blood relatives, that bought, they're not, spouses or non-blood, and, but they live here, right? So an example here could be, let's say I owned a house and my elderly father-in-law actually lived here. He wouldn't be entitled to play without buying a full annual pass holder, because he's not an owner on the deed, right? So we've given a slight path with the Plaza that he could, get that access card, but he'd have to actually pay full boat for the annual pass holder. So this would just be, is there some program that's in between that? And again, the challenge is always, do people abuse that, right? Does that, or sudden everybody's father-in-law is living here, et cetera. So, but it would just be, is there enough issues, or maybe it's just a one-off if someone approaches the board with a a unique situation like that, do we make an exception and allow them to buy something? I mean, they could, if the annual pass holder program's there, they could buy that, but obviously that's a, you know, if you're living here, that probably doesn't feel too good, potentially.
That's okay. Thank you for answering.
Yep.
They said thanks.
So what we're talking about here is, I don't know how many levers this is, I never actually added it up. But let's just say 10 for lack of a better word. So like we're not really looking at moving all 10, right? We're going to pick, or any for that matter. It could be 0 to 10 or 11 and 12 because you've never heard of them yet. All right. But at this point, because what we said, we're not saying that we're doing this. We're saying this is the option on this item. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, I mean, if you're asking me from my perspective, yeah, right. In other words, as we put the budget together, similar to prior years, we got to look at what that shakes out as, right? And to Darren's point, you know, we've talked about it for a while. Do we need to raise that plaza food credit, right? Do we expand that to the golf grill? We know that, you know, sometimes that brings credit challenges, right? People who don't pay their bills. When we get the new reserve study, you know, the reserves have not gone up for 4 years, you know, so it's like if you start laying some of this stuff out and we end up with I'll just pick a random number because everybody will, like 10% increase, nobody's going to like that, right? So then everybody's going to be like, what can you do to not have that? And then it's like, okay, where can we look, right? And where are there inequities? So again, you know, I get it. People play a lot of golf, but like, I think like I always hear our members say, charge more to the public, but I never hear them say, anybody who's paying less than $10 a round, that should be unacceptable. Raise that to $20, like raise it to some nominal amount, right? And I won't say nominal, but like to me, like you can barely get a Starbucks coffee for, you know, $8 or $9, depending on what you get. So the thought that, you know, we have rounds that we're selling, you know, that average out to $10, I'll just say, when we could sell those for $110, that just seems to me like an easy lever, not popular lever. I get it, you know, and none of these are popular with you know, a lot of people. But that seems like a lever that we should look at, right? And again, that comes back to, do you cap the number of rounds, things like that, right? Because we don't have it all you can eat anywhere else, right? It's not a full buffet or anything at the plaza or, you know, things like that. So that's, you know, I think as we look at the budget where it ends up, and again, I'm not talking necessarily 2026, but longer term, like what do we do to make sure our HOA fees aren't $18,000 a year in 5 years? Because that's a non-starter for I think everybody, right? Whether you're selling a house, buying a house, golf, don't golf. So it's like we just have to have that longer term view of, you know, not letting it get to the point where all of a sudden you have to have the beer pricing issue where you got to jump the beer price from $2.75 to $6, right? So you got to like figure out along the way how you make some of these adjustments so you don't end up in a financial mess or have to have a 30% increase 1 year. That's my view.
Gotcha. And then just to clarify, CRT fees, just so everyone knows when they're looking at that, that is a club-owned cart rental. And so the CRT is just the acronym that's used, because I'm sure we'll get that question soon. All right, what's next then, Alan?
Just public comment on those levers. I think slides are now we're just on to the appendices, which I don't think we're going to run through.
Okay, if anybody in the community wants to raise their hand to speak, you may do so now. We do have somebody in the Plaza game room. Mitch, who is it?
We have Teresa Moran.
Hey, just a few comments, Alan, and you guys. I really appreciate you doing this, but I guess my biggest concern is, what's the exact goal of this meeting? Where are the issues since it looks like we are still doing good, but the plaza. You're talking about golf balls. Bringing golf balls in and charging is great, but we can't get the manpower staff at the golf course already to fill them up and pick them up as it is. You can't get them to manage who's coming from the parking lot in. So I know that's one issue. Another issue, the events. You're talking about making it only having 2-day events. What's going on with members invitation? That's a 3 to 4 day event that brings in a lot of money. And it has been going on for the last, I don't know, 8 years. You can't just change that midstream. Please understand that. And trying to go from morning shotgun to afternoon shotgun, I think we did that twice this year. And any member that was part of that golf tournament understands on Sunday, the Golf Grill had a very hard time keeping up with the people as they were coming in from that. You need to do it in the afternoon. I don't think we make any money on those days in the morning. And then really, you're talking about having people pay extra money for an extra round. I do know there is some people that play a lot, but really, that is low hanging fruit on how much money we would actually make off those members compared to doing another public play date and keeping the numbers heavy. My biggest concern is, what is the goal of this meeting? Why are we trying to just look at the golf course and not the whole community development?
Well, you got a great setup.
Okay, thank you very much.
So,
We're gonna,
I just want to answer the one part of that question of why. So there in a board meeting, I don't know when, a couple of months ago, a few months ago now, there was a request to take a deeper dive on the golf and have a golf town hall, present the numbers, present the options. I would suspect that we'll probably get to doing this on the plaza as well, because Neil alluded to that 2 board meetings ago. So I hear you on the plaza type of stuff, and I hear on the 75 raising of that fee. But if we sit to looking at the golf, what are the options for golf? And then what you're asking, what's the goal? I think the goal is to right size the shoe here, and that might be no changes. But it's, you got to bring out all the options and hear all the feedback, because once you go through this, then at least you understand why you don't make a change. Because if we sit and do nothing without explaining why we're choosing to do nothing, I can guarantee you the amount of emails that come in is just massive. So the whole purpose of today is to exchange ideas, start looking at what the sort of the options are, and then price it out. And does it make sense? And what's the impact? What's the impact to member experience? What's the impact financially? What's the impact HOA fees? What's the impact house values? Some of these things have zero impact. Some of them might have a massive impact, good or bad. So we need to get to the answer. So we're just asking questions right now, Teresa.
all right, we have next up Lucier, I think is it Dylan?
It's
You can
both of
unmute.
us, both
Okay.
Kylan and Michelle, but I do
Okay.
believe Dan actually had his hand up first.
It's okay, but you haven't spoken yet, so go ahead.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. So kind of, I'm gonna nutshell some of this. Public play has obviously been very profitable for us on Thursdays. And that looked like that was one of the #1 days. It was on the list of public play percentages. So Thursdays should probably be kept as a public play day. It looks like Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays are the other popular days. Monday was the least popular requested option to play. So that would be a no-go for a second day. Talking through this, Sunday would be our suggestion. to have as a second public play day. And I know a lot of members may scoff at that. The thought process being Sundays, for those of us that are residents here, generally Sundays are family days, whether that's church, family time, those types of things. For public play, they're on vacation, so they're not attending church and doing those types of things. It's also a high play day for vacationers. So that would give us an opportunity for the public to give us some money. Just a thought. We're making a lot of money on public. That gives us an opportunity to get that. For those that are trail fee members, a lot of these guys are retired. They've put in a lot of years of hard work. So if they're playing a lot of golf, that's why. Let's not penalize them because they're playing a lot of golf. And I say that with the utmost respect to everybody who doesn't play golf. I still work. He doesn't. Let him play his golf. That's all I got to say. He plays a lot. I try to get out on Saturdays and try to get out and play with him. I pay my fees happily. We also don't have any wear and tear on any of the courses' golf carts. So we're putting all the wear and tear on ours, nothing on the course. That's just our 2 cents on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. One moment, please. Next up, we have Dan Metz. Go ahead, Dan.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Number of things that I was looking at. Information about members play, trail fee, CRT, that kind of stuff. I moved in over a year ago. That's all Greek to me. If there's any printed information, if someone can send it to me, I'd appreciate it. But the big thing that hits me is that we have a brand name, Champions Gate. And the thing is that we have, with the Champions Gate, you have the pro shop and we have high price golf shirts and everything else. But what about the merchandise that is available that we can have to sell so that, you know, like when it gets cool, long t-shirts with Champions Gate information, you know, the game, you know, advertise the name, make sure it's out there. Okay. Because people do understand Champions Gate. This is my background from merchandising in the past and marketing, and I just think it's something we should take a serious look at. That's it.
Thank you, Dan. Brendan O'Carroll. Go ahead, Brendan.
Hi, thanks very much. I'd just like to ask the board, who's going to make the decision what levers to pull? Who's going to make that decision?
I hope the board does it together.
So
Okay.
It'd be at an open board meeting. If any decision is made, I guess, I mean, if there's no decision, if there's no changes, I don't see us actually coming there and saying there's no changes.
The reason, sorry, James, the reason I ask is that all of these levers are huge decisions for us to make about the future of where we're going. And I think if the board have this eventually make a decision that this is the lever that they're going to pull, or levers, or they're not going to pull any lever, at some point when you make that decision, that has to be put to the community on a referendum basis.
I don't know about the referendum part, but yeah, it would be put to the community.
On a vote?
Were the community votes?
Yeah.
I don't see that happening.
Then why are we here?
Well, because we take the information from the homeowners, right? That's how we make decisions, right? You make your decision eventually when you have an election. And then if someone is along the lines of what you want, that's where you go. But when you look at these, like, I mean, so let me ask you a question. If you put this to a referendum and the 486, because most of the people on here are golfers, So if the 486 say 100% public, you guys gonna live with that?
Sure. If that's if that's what the community wants, sure.
That's a slippery slope. I'll defer.
Well,
to-
but if the board make a decision that it should be 100% public, and it's put to the community, and the community vote for it, well, then that's it.
Otherwise, you have to.
Otherwise, then you have to. Otherwise, and I don't mean this in any snarky way, but otherwise, it's a dictatorship that you decide between the board what lever is going to be pulled, and it's pulled. End of story.
But isn't that the way every year when we approve the budget? Like every item in the budget gets approved by the board. It doesn't go to the homeowners to vote on.
This is not just budget. This is even bigger than budget. This is lifestyle. This is about the community. It's about our neighbors, whether they're going to play golf or not play golf.
There was a lever pulled on the annual pass holders.
Yeah, there was a lever pulled on the annual golf holders, golf pass holders.
There wasn't a vote by the members on that.
No, that's what I'm saying. There was no vote on the members, and that nearly tore the community apart.
Okay, guys, that is 3 minutes. Thank you, Brendan.
What's the point of the bond?
Okay, we do have somebody in the Plaza Game Room. Mitch, who is it?
We have Darren LaFave next. Darren, did you still want to talk? Good. Okay, never mind. Darren's good. We, in that case, we have Bob Mayer.
Hey, boss. Thank you. I'm off. Only comment I have to make is when you talk about the cart, use of carts and the trail fee. You know, the only fair way you can do that is if you do it on a monthly basis, not on a yearly basis. Because there's a lot of people who are only here so many months a year. Why should they be part of that with their limited how many times they can use a cart a month without paying an extra fee? That's something to think of. Any other way, if you want to be fair, I understand this is all about fairness to the community. We got to be fair there too. And also, one of the other things about limiting the number of guests people can have over a year's time, I think is, you buy a membership of the country club. I think there should be containment on how many people can play. Part of that is be able to bring a guest in and to enjoy golfing with friends or family when they're visiting. And I think to start limiting that really punishes the people who have a home. But outside of that, I really think that if you're going to try to pick up nickel and dime the people who live here to make more money, let's go back to that plaza and worry about that minimum first. And maybe also have the minimum at the golf shop. At the grill room. Yeah. And that way, there's a source of money that seems to be losing money and an opportunity to make money. Thank you. Good job. Well said.
Can I ask a question on that? Are you saying a minimum at the golf grill above the 900 across the, I'm using.
Well, I think a minimum, I think if you made a minimum high enough to be, that it could be used at both places would be fine.
150.
Yeah, 125, $150 a month. I'm gonna be spending way more than that.
Yeah, folks, and there are multiple people speaking in the game room and it's very jumbled. We can't hear. If we could please keep it to the one person who's designated to speak at that time. But thank you very much. Board, we don't have anybody else online, but we do have one more person in the game room, Tom Phelan, who would like to speak.
All right.
Yeah, I appreciate the board putting this together. It's a lot of work. I'm still not 100% sure of the numbers, okay? Just from the fact of my experience and people cashing checks and not cashing checks, I'm still on that my high horse on, is there enough controls do we have in place that if I give you a check, will you cash it or not cash it? Because there's still outstanding checks from the trail fees from this year, okay? So that's one issue, and that's why I don't trust the numbers. The other thing we need to look at, we talked about how do we raise money. Have we ever talked, I didn't see one lever on here of looking at cost containment and cost cutting. And I think we need to look at that as a lever too. And I'd like to suggest, and I would request from the board, that we get a breakdown of the pro shop expenses and their revenue. So we can see how much is that pro shop, because I've never seen a golf course have so many, in a pro shop, have so many employees in my life as we have now. I mean, there's room for consolidation within the pro shop. So that's my request of a detailed breakdown of expenses and revenue at the pro shop. And is there an opportunity to reduce costs there? That's all.
Thank you very much. All right, we don't have any more comments, so Alan, we can move on if you'd like.
That's it, Stephanie. The rest is just appendices.
Okay. Is there going to be any
Go ahead.
further discussion by the board?
Are you going to talk about the handicap committee and the event committee and stuff?
Oh, sorry, there is one more, sorry. I
Yeah.
stand corrected, I forgot. Yes, so other operational items that are on the radar, and that's what Lisa was just talking to. Handicap committee, event committee, member no-show policy, violations for playing without checking in, without paying, et cetera, going through the regular violation process, and the golf policy manual refresh. So Lisa, I don't know if you want to talk to any of those or any other board members?
The levers are something that is going to have to do a lot. We'll have to do a lot more work on those. But these 5 items are something that can be actioned easily. And I think I don't have a huge amount of experience in American golf clubs, but I can tell you a handicap committee is mandatory in Ireland anyway. I'm assuming it's here. And so I don't know why we don't have one. An event committee would be very useful for our member events because we are a golf club. Member no-show policy is something we should look at. And especially at busy times, not so bad this time of the year where you might be sitting on your deck and it's absolutely spilling rain. And you might be able to cancel it on Ortiz and you can't get hold of the pro shop. That's a different thing. But during the winter when tea times are scarce, that's something that maybe would focus people's minds. I am a big advocate for people checking in at the golf shop. I live on 15, and the amount of people I see in the evening that aren't on the tee sheet, and I'm naturally nosy, so I'll go out and have a look and see who it is. So I might wave and say hello or tell them they've had a good shot out of the bunker. So there's a lot of it that seems to go on. And then I don't even think I've ever seen our golf policy manual, have you?
No.
No, so it would be interesting to see it, never mind refresh it. So these 5 items are things that we could actually roll our sleeves up and get sorted now without any issues, and would just help the whole club as a whole.
I can email the golf manual to everyone tomorrow. It is on the Connect portal for homeowners to be.
Thanks, Steph.
In ShareSync for the board as well.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, is there any further discussion by the board?
So
Good.
So what we want to make sure happens though, Stephanie, is an e-blast to go out to the community, because I'm sure even the people that spoke tonight, when they go home, they're going to think of 5 or 6 items they wish they would have brought up. We do need a mechanism to send out to get the additional information, because we need to understand what the community wants to do and what the thoughts are, and then we can kind of start to formulate our opinions after that. The stuff that is on the horizon. I agree. We do have a golf no-show policy. It was implemented. It did create some bad feelings within the community. So I think it does need to be maybe tweaked a bit. But yeah, Other than that, I think we're good. So is everyone else good?
Yeah, I just add, James, that there was a lot of comments in the chat, which I didn't get chance to kind of read through all of those. Stephanie, if you can provide those, because I think that's input from people who weren't in the room or didn't raise their hands, but did choose to make some comments in the chat room, which I think we also need to take into consideration as we review the, the after effects of this town hall.
Yep, understood. I will get the chat to the board for review.
Okay.
Obviously, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done in regards to all this. I think that what was brought up in regards to providing what if scenarios and that is extremely important. If we're making decisions on half information, it's not the right decision to make. We need to have all data and the what ifs as well. You do any type of work outside engineering, whichever it may be, you've got to plan and look at what the recourse may be as far as what decision it is that you're making.
I just have one more question.
Okay, are we still allowing public comments? Or do we need to wait till the next section?
It's a quick question.
There isn't a next section, Mitch. We're going to wrap up now and close the meeting.
Yeah.
Could Craig not ask the
Okay.
question?
But Craig, go and ask your question.
Go ahead.
It's just a quick question. Does the board have a net revenue number they're looking at? I'm trying to understand the scale of what you're looking to do, and that would help me understand, the value of each lever that we're looking at. So are you looking to increase net revenue by $250,000, $500,000?
I think, and I'm sure Alan will answer this in greater, articulate it greater than I can, but I would say that obviously as Alan starts to put together the budget for 2026, taking into consideration, some of the options that are available, like increasing the plaza credit, that will have an impact on the HOA. Increasing the reserves, because we approved at the last board meeting to have a new reserve study, because we think the reserve study which was done 4 years ago needs to be refreshed, and probably some of the values on that are going to increase. So what does that mean? It means that we may have to increase the reserve amount that's payable in the HOA. So what we're trying to look at is ways to mitigate those potential increases. Add to that, the fixed contracts where we have like 4% increases in the major contracts. Those obviously have an impact. Inflation has an impact, and it's not to reduce, unfortunately, the HOAs, it's increasing HOAs. So in order for us to try and minimize that, we're looking at all the options that are available, and we need the community to help us make those decisions. Hence we're having this town hall tonight. The challenge we've got with the plaza as well is it's not open to the public, so we have a finite number of homeowners in terms of the 937. So that's one of the challenges, and we'll look at the plaza again soon, but that's one of the challenges we need to look at there as well.
Sure, does that answer your question, right?
No.
Okay.
Did you want to try to ask again, Craig? Good.
Correct.
I did, unfortunately, I apologize, board. I missed Jonathan Waldman earlier. He was the last person that had a question. Is there any chance that you would be willing to allow him to comment?
I'm happy to let Jonathan talk.
One minute.
All right, Jonathan. Go ahead.
By the way, thank you for everything you guys do. I know how much work is involved with it, so we do appreciate it. It may not always seem like that, but we do. But I just want to say, we also need to think there's a human element to this. I bought into a golf club that was supposed to be a semi-private club Now it seems like it's a public club. But I'm also very happy, I play golf with everyone in this room. I have not had the pleasure of playing with anyone there yet, I would love to. So when you're here, Jonathan Waldman, I'm out there a lot. So we could play, I would love to. But it also seems like from a lot of this, we're trying to find ways to punish the members who play a lot. I don't understand, we wanna limit the rounds. We wanna charge them more for trail fees. We go in, every person in this room spends hundreds of dollars at this place every month.
He has the numbers.
I mean, if you go by my account, like anyone here, see how much we're spending there. So you wanna make us pay to play more while we're spending more already. I guarantee you, we're spending more than the people coming in Saturday after us, when we're there from the morning until the afternoon. It just doesn't seem, it seems like we're trying to take away from the members. Shouldn't we be trying to give more to the members and get more out of the public? We're charging $59. If we're charging $59 and my stepfather, who lives here, goes and gets a cart to play, that's $33. So we're saying we're a $27 course. That doesn't make sense to me. We have a great course. If we fix the tee boxes, if we get the bunkers with all the same type of sand, make this a premier destination, have pride in it. When I go tell people Champions Gate, I'm like, our course is insane, but we charge $59. That puts you at a low public course. If we charge more, we can have less public play. We're not half the price of the Omni. Maybe we're 70%, 80%, but we need less public, but then to pay more, not pay $40, $50. That's it, I'm done. Thank you very much.
Okay, so since that's the last one, Stephanie, I guess the only thing we have left is adjournment. So call the meeting to an end.
Sorry, before you adjourn, I'd like to thank, we've had a lot of people online tonight. We have a great turnout here in the plaza, even though with all the shenanigans with the fire thing today. And I'd like to thank everybody giving up their time for coming out and giving us their opinions, because it is a great community and it is very important that we listen to everybody. The golfers here tonight have given us some great ideas and I think we need to take them on board. But I just want to say thanks. Thank you.
Is that it? Okay. Thanks, Lisa. So it is 8:04. We're going to call the meeting to order. May I have our adjournment? May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Seconded.
So I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody, for joining.